Oh, gosh. There you are. Oh. I just saw a car go by. No, she's not coming back. We'll go ahead and get started. Perfect. All right, just want to welcome everyone today. It's good to see everyone, and I'd like to call the joint meeting between the Ada County Highway District and the City of Eagle to order, and also state that the Ada County Highway District does have a quorum.
And this is Jason Pierce, Mayor of Eagle, and saying that we, as a city, have a quorum also.
Welcome, welcome. Director Wong, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Madam President, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Council members, welcome. Great to have you here today. We have a presentation, presentation across the board based on what our staffs have joined. Great topics for your review. What I'd like to do first is just give you an overview in front of the Ada County Highway District, and as such, in front of you as elected officials going into the next steps. Next slide, please. Okay. For your Ada County Highway, these are, this is the inventory across the board. And you know the common theme there, and growing across the board. If you look at that, just the mileage alone, we like to say you can go from here to back, then have a couple, still not use all the roadway system that Ada County Highway District is responsible for across the board. But as you can see, Cory, County Highway District is maintaining all of that to perfect conditions to the best of our abilities. Next slide, please. Just a little bit to show you a little bit more what the Compass has been looking at, and we do work based on Compass models that come in, of course, would influence cities across the board. Anyway, if you look at all that growth, what does that equate to? That type of increase in miles traveled. We'll get a little bit more into that here shortly. So, Stacy, if you just do all those, please. Back, there we go. That's going on all across Ada County, especially in Eagle. When it comes down to development activity that we see on a daily, this is current. That's where we are, and as you can see, in Eagle, seeing an 8% increase in tech fee reviews to date. So the entire valley, entire Ada County, growing immensely. Next slide, please. Okay, how about that? Is that better? All right, very good. First time I've ever been accused of not being able to be heard. That's so anyway, to put this more specifically on a day-to-day basis for what your ACHD team is working through, These are all year-to-date actions that we've taken in support to not only mitigate but improve transportation operations and such across all of Ada County. And I'd like to always point to two things. Traffic signs gives you an amazing indication of how growth is going, and you can see it's absolutely accelerating. And number two, linear feet of new sidewalks across the board. Those won't make the news, but I'll tell you, we watch those very, very closely because we know where things are going and the impact it is having on the taxpayer and, of course, all of you as elected officials. And I also wanted to bring up the issue of ADA. That is a continued focus point for the commission, for the district, for all the team members, to ensure that we're doing everything to make sure we are compliant across the board. Next slide, please. So, council members, the blue indicates what's entitled already in all of Eagle and such. And so you can see there's a lot of stuff that is not only going on, but going to go on in the city. And those bring all the challenges that you are working now, not only to the forefront, but going into the future. But as you can see, and I'm sure you're well aware, there's a tremendous amount of interest in Eagle, in development operations. Next slide, please. So what are we doing about it? And what I wanted to share with you was the most recent integrated 5-year work plan projects that are in Eagle. And if you'd like a copy of this, more than happy to provide that to you and your staff. Next slide, please. So just going across the board, these are part of some of the projects that we are doing with the current timelines across the board for your review. Your staff has this. They've been integral in putting this together. Next slide, please. Okay, Stacy, next. And so finally, what does this all mean? Well, from an ACHD perspective, Ada County across the board, if you look at where we were in 2020 and what the projection is for 2040, you can see it's a challenge. It really is. And at the end of the day, there is no silver bullet on how we address this, how the commission addresses in collaboration with you and the other cities and all the other elected officials, but it is a three-pronged approach. One, building out the base CIP network. However, and ensuring we're focusing on alternate modes of travel demand management going into the future. You can't have one without the other going to work and such. So, with that being said, next slide, please. That's just a quick introduction of what we're seeing. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our team to get a little bit more specific on the projects and categories that you've asked us to discuss. Commissioner May, or any thoughts on that?
No, we'll just go ahead and move forward. And again, please stop us if you need any clarification or have any questions as we move forward. So thank you, Director Wong. Welcome, Diane.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Madam President, Commissioners, and Council members, my name is Diane Bevins. Just waiting, I'm the manager of capital projects, so we're just waiting for to come up here. Not Rachel Spears, she is on Zoom. She couldn't be with us in person today, so I'm happy to give the presentation for her, and she's also available in case you have questions that I'm not able to answer. So the first update is Eagle and State. This is a exhibit of the project area here. The Aikens project, in addition to the quadrant for Eagle and State, the Old Park extension, the new Palmetto Avenue extension, as well as the recent improvements at State Highway 44. So a little background where we are, the project timeline. Last year, we put 99% design on hold, and in We had our previous joint meeting, we decided to do an update to the traffic analysis, put the design on hold. We had the NTP for traffic analysis in September, and just last month, we did receive a draft copy of the traffic analysis. And basically, I'll just the key findings of the traffic analysis. With the extension of Old Park or Aikens on the west side of Eagle Road, all the intersections in a similar manner, acceptable level of service at all the intersections. So there wasn't much difference in the traffic analysis there, which is good news. So moving forward, the city will be in the lead on Old Park Place extension from Aiken Street and working out those right-of-way negotiations. We are going ahead and moving forward with 99% design. That will include not having a second southbound lane on Eagle Road as the city requested. And Mr. Mayor and President, this was spoken with you about on Monday with Justin, Director Wong. So that will not require the widening of that bridge there along the property that was just purchased by the city. Again, we'll move forward in full coordination with the city and city staff, and we are continuing to explore construction phasing that was also requested last year at the joint meeting, but in full coordination and support with downtown Eagle businesses and residents, so what we can do there. I wanted to give a quick update on Aikens as well. We are currently in right-of-way negotiations on that project. It is going to be constructed in coordination with Eagle and State. We just wanted to highlight that there are some very complex and complicated right-of-way negotiations at this time. We are moving through those. And I will stand for any questions you have on Eagle and State or Aikens.
Thank you very much, Diane. Mayor Pierce, or any members of the council, any questions on the projects referenced? No? All right. Good job. Thank you very much, Diane. Okay. You're good to go. Welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah. Good morning, President May, Mayor, council members, commissioners. I'm Cody Holman. I'm the project manager for both the Linder State Highway 44 to Floating Feather widening project and the Linder Road Floating Feather roundabout project. Just want to give you a quick update on those. Next slide, please. Oh, not clicker. Thanks. Never mind. Just so we have the on the left side is by State Street, also known as State Highway 44, up to Floating Feather on the right. In this area, right in the middle on Cigarro, we have the Charter Elementary School and the North Charter School here and the Galileo School here. Project overview, we want to widen the road to 5 lanes. It's currently 2, little section of 3, but mostly 2. Add 10-foot multi-use paths on both sides of Linder Road. Also adjust the location of the existing enhanced pedestrian crossing. There's a PHB between the 2 schools. I want to move that a little bit south so that it's a little bit more visible. Want to add center medians, traffic calming, add northbound through lane down at State Street. We can get that to fit within the existing footprint just by adding a signal head and some pavement markings. And we want to try to get some bike and head facilities up to the intersection of State Street. That's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll go into that now. And with the roundabout, it's going to be a multi-lane roundabout that will be expanded to a dual lane once needed. And going to put 10-foot wide multi-use paths around that roundabout also. I wanted to say back in 2019, these projects combined were the city's #2 priority for a road and intersection type project. So just some coordination we've had so far at the city, most about landscaping. I talked about those center medians. The city wants to landscape those very similar to the road west of Highway 55. So same sort of thing with the trees and the landscaping in the center. And we also have an opportunity to possibly do some landscaping in the stormwater swales, and we're still under discussions about that. And we're also just coordinating with future development in the area, most notably right now the Route 44 crossing on the north corner of State and, State and Floating Feather. Proposed timeline of public number 2 is scheduled for July. Start 2023, and construction is currently scheduled for 2026. But with right away in 2023, there is the opportunity to construct earlier, if funds and staff and all that is available. That all stand for any questions.
Thank you, Cody. There's right there on the table. There you go.
There we go. Councilman Bond. So a question from last time we had relative to the 10-foot. Are you guys still moving forward with the use of just those and getting rid of the bike lanes?
Early in this project, Councilman, I did talk to the ACHD Bicycle Advisory Committee. They were on board with the pathways. One of the main reasons for the pathways on this project is we one day want to connect to the Greenbelt, which one day is planned to, I'll go all the way to Linder Road. So we have a consistent pathway network that would go through.
Follow up on that one. So I've worked with the bike group, and they've actually been, at least the couple that I've talked to, were adamant about not having, basically getting rid of the bike lanes, is because you cannot put, basically people that use it in the most the most bike use per capita in all county. We get more road bikers than anybody. Putting them on a multi-use trail is, there's no way you can put high speed. It's putting a car on a trail. It doesn't work. That's the reason why fentanyl like that. How do you offset that? But what do you do when they're starting right on the trail?
Sure, the pathways would work on where there's not a kind of set speed limit, but a speed that should be safe. For the most, competent and quick road cyclists, they can still use the roadway, and the 5-lane road would help that to more easily to pass cyclists who are on the road.
Okay, so you'll still allow, well, I guess that's what you're gonna do, is you basically, they still will be on the road, there just will no bike lane.
Yeah, no, the cyclists are still welcome to ride on the road.
Okay, well, I think that one, the other one is the 10-foot wide paths are, they usually move around a little bit. You guys talk about additional modes of non-motorized transportation with bikes is one of the biggest ones. If you take out those bike lanes, I think you're going to, one, conflicts, and the other one is you're
And I would say part of the goal with pathways is to promote the 8 to 80 kind of idea with people riding bikes, so to get kids, especially through the area, easier way to ride. If we did the pathways and the bike lanes, we'd be making the road another 10 to 14 feet wider, which would have significant impacts and actually wouldn't really fit on one section. So it's kind of our compromise right now, but yeah, it's something we're still keeping an eye on.
I just would like to make one comment about that. I don't think I've ever seen a bicyclist using it as transportation or on the road use the bike lane. They're always in the lane. So.
well, I don't, actually, since we're talking about this one, one of the reasons. No, I know that. No, but actually, one of the other things we talk about Floating Feather in particular with the bike lanes is functional bike lanes. If you look at Floating Feather, the average width of that bike lane is 3.5 feet. That's not a functional distance for a bike lane, as opposed to on Edgewood, when you do that one, that's 8 to 9 feet wide. Absolutely a functional. However, with all the becomes a little bit less functional, but so I guess functional bike lanes would be another one in there where I think they get more use. Right now is basically Floating Feather. I did a count. We had 106 bikes in 1 hour on a Sunday. We get a lot of use, but they are riding in have a 3.5 foot bike lane that you're trying to have 20 people that are riding together do that. So again, if that can go to the planning process, I think using this for Boise a little bit, but for Meridian in particular, there's not a lot of bikeability in Meridian because of the amount of traffic that's there. You're basically taking your life in your own hands, so they do use a lot more of the trails. More site-specific planning is in order. Thanks.
And just to add to that, we have had that conversation before, and I remember our last meeting, we talked about that. And in the city of Eagle, we have, for lack of a better term, more recreational type cyclists, and just this weekend, they come through in groups. And they're moving at a pretty fast clip, and so we talked about the safety issues, being on the same pathway with families that are walking in strollers, et cetera. So it is a real issue. And we did look at Edgewood when you brought that up at the last meeting. But that is something to kind of keep on our radar as we move forward with some of these projects, because we do have quite a large population coming through on the weekends, down the road. So point well taken, Councilman Vaughn.
I'm just gonna, so that, to me, when I look at this, there's three different types of users of all this area. The reason that we have bike lanes on Floating Feather, and tell me if I'm wrong, is we have 5-foot sidewalks where pedestrians are supposed to be walking. So even the kid and the just recreational, person is not supposed to be on the sidewalk. They're supposed to be using the bike lane. And so that's why when you get the bicyclists, they're actually, out there, and what's weird to me too is, a car has to go single file. A bicyclist is that they're using the actual road portion more. Where if you've got a kid on a beach cruiser cruising down Floating Feather, they're going to probably stay in the bike lane. But the road bike people are going to actually be in the road, hence road bike, and be part of more of that with traffic. But I'm guessing with Linder, you're taking out that bike lane that those kids should be using because you're putting a 10-foot path where they'll be, but you're still saying, hey, road bikes can be on Linder. You just won't have a 3-foot lane that you really don't use anyway. Okay, I'm just trying to, because I don't ride bikes either way, so I just wanted to make sure I'm understanding what all is going on. Okay.
Madam President?
Commissioner Hanson.
Yeah, and Cody, I know that ACHD now has level of traffic stress performance measurements, which I didn't hear reported on that. Are we going to have a report on the analysis of LTS for both bicycling and walking in this segment, so that the city can analyze, whether, because if the LTS is too high for one of those modes, people don't use it. And it's no use building it if people don't use it because it's dangerous. So can you do some LTS analysis? So I know it's not in our policies yet, but we at least have those measurements.
Yeah, we can definitely look into that. We're still looking at raised crossings on the side streets with the pathway and some other topics. So we're not quite sure exactly what the LTS is at this point, but once we nail down the design, go to this second public involvement meeting, I think we can definitely get that those numbers set.
So the design comes first and then the LTS analysis? You don't say, how do we design to reach an LTS goal? Seems like that's backwards, because if you come up with a design, find out the LTS suggests that it's too dangerous, then you have a design that's not going to be used. So won't we do it the other way around? Say, this is what our goal is, so let's design to it. It's speed, this is our speed, let's design to it.
I'm fairly confident we're already at LTS2 with the kind of what we sent out to the public for PIM1. What I meant was, if we can get those raised crossings, we might get down to an LTS1 in certain locations. So we're just looking to improve it even more than required, and then we can see what the actual numbers are. But we're looking at the offset pathway crossings, having the PHB remain. As far as I know, we're in pretty good shape so far. We're just looking to make it even better.
Thank you, Cody. Are there any other questions or comments? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing that project move forward. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the council and commission, for the record, my name is Tom Wong, County Highway District. And today I'm just going to provide a quick update on the State Street sidewalk repairs. To provide an overview, this was an item that was requested back in December of last year. And really what the focus and intent was is to help mitigate about 1.5 feet vertical drop off that occurs on the back of sidewalk in this section. In addition to this, during this project, we'll be looking at all the pedestrian ramps and updating those for ADA compliance. And this is being led by team. This map below just kind of highlights top right corner, and it's the section of State Street. For next steps, we're currently underway with this. We've already met with 3 out of the 4 property owners on that side, are in full support of this effort. Planning to meet with that 4th one fairly shortly, and full steam ahead. We plan for completion later this spring. This is just a good image, really highlights what that drop off here on the back of curb, and then where those cars parked, how far of a drop off that is right now. So we'll be working to smooth it. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you very much, Tom. Councilman Pike. This is probably a good opportunity to bring up that question you had earlier.
Yes, thank you, both Mayor and President. Tom, question this is a perfect photo I've been waiting for. I've been given information, and this is because I'm on the, we have a downtown advisory committee that I'm working with, and of course, the URA. The easement, ACHD easement, can you show me where the easement boundary from the curb south goes all the way down, probably at least past your circle indicator?
I apologize, I do not have a map ready for that or prepared for that, council member.
Because I've been given information, I want to make sure it's accurate, and this is a perfect venue to bring that up, that you have a larger portion of easement on Old State Street than what is currently being viewed. And I'm just curious as how we're going to address that, especially in the future as development goes, not only for the sidewalk. And I don't want to turn around and waste money when you actually have more space that you thought you did. And I just need to have that clarification from us, from the city, because it won't work well with the 2 committees that I serve on, and of course the city council. So I'm really curious to see what an overlay map looks like for that.
Okay, so Councilman Pike, we can certainly, our team can look into that, and they can follow up with you and get that information. They just, like he said, they weren't prepared to speak to that, but he was kind of hoping you might have that in your back pocket. So if we could follow up, that would be great.
Absolutely.
I would just, Madam President, and so so you showed the part in front of the Eagle Auto, but there's also the part a little further down that is in front of the mobile home park too, where it drops off quite a bit?
Correct.
Okay, so I just want to make sure, so it's going further than just that picture you showed. Okay, perfect. You saw that all the way down. Okay, thank you.
Madam President?
Commissioner Hanson.
Yeah, Tom, how old is that sidewalk? It seems almost unconscionable that we would have built a sidewalk with that kind of danger on it, and that's really troubling. Or that if there was no development and it was dug down later on, that the city would entitle some sort of conditional use. So clearly, it's a governmental error to have allowed this construction to have happened, and I hope we have systems in place to prevent that. It just looks like a brand new sidewalk, or at least the parking lot looks new too.
I don't believe it's not a brand new.
Been there for years.
It's been there for a long time.
I confidently say at least pre-1990s when ADA
Yeah.
requirements came in. So.
Yeah. That was our best guess from 2 people that have lived there for a really long time. So thank you, Tom.
And Madam President, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'll go right into our next presentation, which is an update for crossing efforts. Just a quick project overview of this. The goal of this project was to install a pedestrian hybrid beacon across Eagle at the intersection of Branch Drive. There are existing unused traffic poles at the site today, and so the goal is really just to add mast arms to those addition to accommodate that pedestrian hybrid beacon. At that time, we relocate the southbound school zone flashers to accommodate this crossing, and while we're in there, update clients. Just to kind of highlight, the project has gone. This was the number 3 project request from the City of Eagle for the unfunded community programs category for our integrated 5-year work plan. After that, we did incorporate this into our 25 integrated 5-year work plan, really following that next in practice. So design in the year 2025 with construction in the future. After that, with this last year's agency request list, this project moved to number 5 in the funded community programs list through the city of Eagle. And what happened in fall of last year, we undertook an accelerated projects, about 16 in total, including this intersection. And during an October 21 between the city of Eagle and ACH, this project looked like it was good forward, then being proposed with a 21-25 integrated 5-year work plan. So the recommendation was to move this for immediate implementation. So our design team to start designing this intersection pedestrian hybrid beacon, and found out is it wasn't as simple as just arms to the existing poles. And really it comes down to the federal requirements with ADA compliance. And what was determined was to meet ADA compliance for all of those due to the slope of the entire reconstruction of that intersection is going to be required to really level it out and make the required slope. In addition to that, going to be needed for that northwest corner to allow for the transition pad of that ADA as a user is coming. Originally, we felt that we could do this corner by corner, but total reconstruction of. We also really need to pay close attention to the traffic control and bicycle and pedestrian detours. And really the purpose of this is with how vital of a corridor Eagle Road is. Entail doing half the other intersection, or the other side of the intersection. Cost increases. But with that, ACHD committed to making sure this project is complete this year. We've pulled several team members, both our traffic team and our design team, to focus solely on the make sure that we can get to the design phase done as quickly as possible and moved on to those next steps. And so with that, we're receiving the 75% designs of the goal is to have those final by April. And then with that, we are still and have this constructed in late summer. However, one thing I wanted to highlight was that they impact the school. And so we need to be closely coordinating with West Data, especially how close to elementaries. And with that, that concludes my presentation. Happy to stand for any questions.
Well, thank you, Tom. Anxious to see that project go forward, but sometimes, you think it's going to be a lot quicker and easier on the outset, and then you start digging into it. So good work by our team. So thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
President May?
Commissioner Hanson.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. And I recognize that with 8 different ramps from 4 different corners, that adds a lot of complexity. Is there a reason why raised crosswalk was eliminated as an option for this intersection? It seems to me that would have been a much simpler, although perhaps a little more expensive, but a much simpler and cost-effective method. It would also have provided some traffic calming near the school.
Commissioner Hanson, I personally not yet into and discuss with the team of whether or not we can include that.
No, we've looked into that for other places. It works really well on 6th and Grove. 6th carries a huge amount of traffic through there. So a raised crosswalk would provide much more benefits and seems to be much less technologically difficult. And can you do an analysis of the LTS? Again, that wasn't included in this presentation, but I assume since it's in your shop that there's LTS on the different design options, so you can make that judgment as to whether the LTS, because speeds weighs into LTS, are different based on the design.
Okay,
Madam
thank you.
President, Commissioner, absolutely. And one thing I'll just highlight is that Meg McCarthy, our bicycle and pedestrian coordinator, sits on every project team and runs those analyses throughout that process.
Thank you very much, Tom. Any other questions or comments? All right.
Madam President, real quick.
Councilman Pike.
Tom, do you know also how many other intersections are going to need to come into ADA compliance in the future? If there's going to be any analysis on that, and the reason I say that is due to cost and labor and materials. Obviously, if we're not on it now, it's going to increase, and we'll be probably out of budgets on all those projects in the future, just like everything else. But do we have some kind of analysis on what other needs are in the community for that? Thank you.
Madam President, Councilmember Pike, absolutely. So pretty timely question. We just completed integrated 5-year work plan annual report, which tracks the completion of those we have throughout the county, getting them into ADA compliance, the ones that are not compliant. But we do have several, Director alluded in his report that we are constantly making a focus for the highway district, and one is plan, which is updated every looks at, the ADA annual report, which actively looks at all the ramps across the county and really tries to track which one of those, which are those high priorities to get to complete line and to make ADA compliant.
All right, thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Okay. Now I'd like to welcome Ms. Nicole Baird Spencer, who does an amazing job for the City of Eagle. I have watched you for I don't know how many years now. And I do just want to give a shout out to your team and Mr. Vaughn for your continued efforts and working so closely with our staff. We've got the best of the best working together, and it's very much appreciated, and we're reaping some benefits from that. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. As Madam Chair told you, my name is Nicole Baird Spencer. I'm the Director of Long Range Planning and Projects for the City of Eagle. Today I'm going to talk to you about the status on the Old Park Place extension. As you were talked about before, we talked about this project back in July, and the city brought the project forward saying we'd like to see the connection of Old Park Place from the existing terminus at Aikens Street south to the intersection of Plaza Drive and Eagle Road. The city's rationale was we wanted to increase connectivity in downtown Eagle, provide alternative trip distribution within downtown Eagle, better utilization of the signalized intersection at Plaza Drive and Eagle Road, longer street lengths for stacking, reducing the need for widening North Eagle Road at the canal, and preserve historic trees and reduce impacts to the adjacent landowners. At that time, we agreed that we would give ourselves a year to come back to ACHD with a design, and I want to kind of give you a status of where we're at with that at this point in time. So this was the alternative we talked about at that point in time, which was looking at potentially vacating the Aikens Street right-of-way between Eagle Road and Old Park Place, and then putting in a new connection or road that connected that Old Park Place to Plaza Drive signal. So work completed to date. We had preliminary meetings with Walgreens. The city purchased 2 properties associated with this. We purchased the Orville Jackson home, the historic home at the corner of Aikens and Eagle Road, and the parcel behind it at the intersection of Aikens and Old Park Place today, where the existing termini is. The city engaged the city engineer, HECO, to do design work for the Old Park Place. And in 2002, I want to say we began bi-monthly meetings with your staff. We've had an increase, I think, just through this process, increased coordination and discussion with your staff in general, which has been huge. We've had a couple challenges. We did have some data sharing issues. The design was, the 99% design you spoke of earlier was only provided to the city in PDF format, which means we have limited accuracy on these. I'd like to just encourage the fact that we need CAD files to really take this design to building and engineering standards. So what I'm going to show you today, I'm going to give you the best we got. We're still hoping that we're going to refine this a little bit further as we move forward. So at this point in time, this is the design. North is towards, south is towards the front doors. This is a 38 to 40 foot right-of-way section. Sidewalk is located on the east side only, so on the interior curve of the roadway. There is no direct parcel access on the west property lines of this extension. That's actually the back property line at most of those homes, trying to provide walls and just some fencing to there. We don't anticipate individual lot access at that location. At this point, this design impacts, is limited, additional impacts only to 2 property owners due to the city's existing purchases of property. So we've been able to narrow it down to that, and I can go through that in a little bit more detail for you. So property impacts, you have these maps in front of you. I did provide you both the layout of the road and this property impact. So the preliminary design requires the purchase of 0.43 acres of property aside from what the city already owns today. The property owners at the northeast corner of Aikens and Olde Park see a decrease in right-of-way need at only 1,429 square feet. The reason that is at this point in time, the design that's in front of ACH has a very curved intersection here. And what we're able to do is by creating a T intersection, we're reducing the amount of right-of-way that's necessary for that curve. The property owner at the northwest corner of Aikens and Olde Park is estimated to have 645 square feet of impact, and most of that has to do with the taper that has to be done. This intersection, as designed currently by ACHD, takes most of its right-of-way from the western portion of the Olde Park Place existing right-of-way. So what that does is it creates a jog in the road. As we talk a little bit further, we can talk if that right-of-way was shifted to the east, we would be able to reduce the amount of right-of-way or that jog on that property at that corner. So that's that corner right there. Design at Plaza Drive requires the purchase of the Walgreens access parcel plus an additional 1,700 square feet. So if you've looked at the map, Walgreens owns an access parcel that is actually just their road that provides connectivity into the site. So this assumes purchase of that entire parcel, which is shown in the blue, and then additional 1,700 square feet. And then finally, we require the purchase of 13,000 square feet from Downs Auction House, which provides really the curve there necessary, but it also, at this point in time, there is a drive aisle connection that actually provides, and I'm hoping this has probably later, does it? Oh, there we go. There is a drive aisle that provides cross access to the parcels and allows for us to not require parking on the Eagle Road or at the frontage of Eagle Road. So this purchase actually allows for us to, this additional right of way, to keep that drive aisle and get that cross connectivity in this area. So perfectly, but access and so some assumptions and clarifications that we need as we go forward, what we need to be working on is the Walgreens site. We have drive aisle locations right here and right here. These are the existing drive aisles for the development. We need some support from ACHD to being evaluating access, spacing, and alignments. Similarly with that drive aisle that's right here, to really make sure that we're not creating additional issues due to location of drive aisles. We have a dumpster relocation that's ours. We're not asking you guys to help us with it. We just need to work with Walgreens on where they would like that to be located, because it currently is right about here. Right about here. And then we are doing some work with, we will be doing some work with Walgreens about the stacking of their drive-through. So this is their drive-through. We estimate we have about 8 car lengths of stacking from that entry point into the drive-through, and whether they feel that that's sufficient or not, or if we need additional drive aisle lengths for them. And we will talk to them about what that means for their site. So vacation of Aikens Street, this was discussed earlier and last year, is looking at vacating this section of Aikens and granting it to the adjacent landowners in exchange for the right-of-way relocating to the east side of Olde Park Place on the northern section. So really shifting the land ownership. The parcel here, here, and here are owned by the same landowner. And so we feel like it's really an encouraging place that we could really be looking at some realignment of right-of-way versus purchasing of right-of-way. Sidewalk and pedestrian crossings. At this point in time, we assume we maintain the pedestrian crossing that's planned at this location, and that we would, in the redevelopment, if this was to go away, install curb, gutter, and sidewalk as a straight connection in this location. So you would have a crossing here and then a continuous crossing network here. Olde Park, Aikens and Olde Park intersection. Again, as I talked before, there's a taper here that has to occur to get these 2 sections to line up. And we need some support and insight from ACHD and their staff about what that taper length needs to be. So if we don't move the right of way, how long do we need to taper for? from the northern section to the southern section. Talk again about shifting right-of-way on Old Park Place. And then finally, talk a little bit about traffic control. If we keep this configuration, this T configuration, is it an always stop? Is it looking like we're going to and allow for through traffic at Old Park? So we just need some little bit of guidance on how ACHD wants that to function and operate long term. So our next steps at this point in time is we will review the preliminary plans and provide some clarification on design assumptions from ACHD. We are meeting with the property owners to let them know we've had those preliminary meetings. We'll be having a secondary round of meetings saying, now here's the concept design. Does this work? Are you concerned? How do we move forward together? We need to get that CAD data necessary to accurately design the project. And then we move into engineering and construction design with a goal of, again, completion by August of 2022. Is there any questions I can answer for you?
Any questions from commissioners or council members?
President?
Commissioner Hansen.
Thanks, Nicole. What's the design speed for this new road?
At this point in time, the preferred design speed is 25 miles an hour or less. So as you know, we've recently changed the design speed on several of our downtown streets to 20 miles an hour. This is, again, we don't plan, this isn't expeditious movement, it's just good connectivity and alternative transportation options.
All right. So are you planning to retain a pedestrian easement on the old Aikens when vacated? Is that the intent, or just closing off potential access if the property owner wants to?
Our desire, now that the city of Eagle owns the old Orville Jackson house to the south of that, all the property on the south side of Aikens, would be to provide internal connectivity. So basically providing some pathways through the site to get over to Old Park Place, yes.
All right. And Nicole, it's my preference is that the city should, you decide what you want, how to function. And it's your preference because you have to live with the land use consequences of how to make it function. And then we should make that apply because under you have the authority under the Land Use Planning Act. And we have legal cases that says you can impose the conditions and we have to abide by them. So, I think we should defer to the city's determination as to how to make it function and not worry about whether it may or may technically violate a policy if the city wants that policy waived. It's the city's prerogative to allow that to happen. So I'm with the city on this, as is the law.
Okay, thank you.
Madam
Just
President,
Mayor Pierce, please.
I would say Commissioner Hansen too is, and I appreciate that very much, but we also want to make sure that we're working together. So when we come to you with these things and ask these questions, we want to make sure, hey, is there something that you guys are seeing that is, blatantly gonna change it, and then we take that into consideration and stuff like that. So
Absolutely.
Exactly, and I would agree that's the best way to do it. Is we provide the input, you have the decision making to say this is how we want it to function, rather than say, well, there are two bodies that are deciding what this road. We don't measure the impacts of land use, and you have to live with the consequences.
Thank you. Just to kind of put something in perspective, I remember, I think it was last July, you came in here and you had the request to pause the project. There were a lot of moving parts, a lot of variables. You needed to explore obtaining some additional property, etc. And I think the arbitrary deadline that was set at that time was like in August. So I just want to point out just how dedicated our staff has been in working with you and your staff, and that's what I was referencing earlier, the collaboration that has made this come to this point ahead of schedule in my mind. And Justin Lucas has really put a lot of work, he and his team, in this on our side. So I think those conversations are happening, like you just referenced, that we are doing this together. And I just really want to applaud the City of Eagle and, of course, our department here at ACHD. So I think that's when you get the best results, when everybody's working together. And we absolutely have been. So thank you very much, Nicole. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So right now, that just takes us right down into open discussion. So now's the time to share any comments, concerns, questions, while we have all the experts in the room with us that can help us, that make us all look good, the right information. So, Mayor Pierce?
I have nothing. I've really enjoyed the last 2 years, and like I said, the way we've been working together, not only our staff, but the elected officials and everything else has been a real blessing. So I echo all your thoughts from before.
Thank you very much. We appreciate hearing that. Any comments from our commission? Everybody's so quiet this morning. All right, Director Wong, any additional information or? All right. Well, we have refreshments over here, so we'll go ahead and we'll adjourn the ACHD portion of this meeting and invite you all to please partake and have a discussion and network a little bit. And Mayor Pierce, over to you.
We'll adjourn the city council, Eagle City Council portion of that also.
Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.